Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, here with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in today on the relationship dynamic with a narcissist or a psychopath, particularly that of the approval paradox. How seeking approval from others results in a real destructive force in relationships, and how that really takes you off course, off your life purpose, off your life mission, or really kind of living on a happy, easygoing life filled with pleasure and not tension, filled with happiness and lightness of being versus anxiety, depression, self-doubt, bickering, anger, all those other negative things that can pool up and bubble up if you have not done the work or understand the cause has created this effect in the relationship with these types of people. But before we get started, I just want to give a super huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much for your donations. It is wonderful to have viewers that are expressing their support, and thank you so much for your well wishes, your kind words, and for stepping up to the plate. It really does make it worthwhile for me to know that this content is hitting home and resonating with you. So thank you so much for your donations and stepping up. And absolutely, if you would like to participate in the channel, please do feel free to donate at the PayPal Donate Now button. If we've been a positive resource and provided you assistance, it's right here at the About page at Peace and Harmony. And also, you can comment at the video down below if there's anything that is really kind of resonating or hitting home with you and you want to express and share with others, because it's very good to get these conundrums, these puzzles, these enigmas out of your system. You want to get the knots out. You don't want to feel that you're just being strung along in life and not really having smooth through and work things out. Understanding the cause has created the effect. And oftentimes it does take concerted effort. It does take deliberate time to sort things out, but it will get better once you do the work. You can't be so arrogant, that you can't feel that, there isn't something about your perspective or your approach or your rhythm or your view of things can change. So it's understanding really the gears that are going on in the relationship dynamic, particularly when it comes to approval or really sort of heated emotional battles that tend to ensue when you're with these types. And if you understand and do the work and understand the cause that's created the effect, you're no longer a victim to the situation. You're no longer feeling, under this pressure. Pressure is not written on the ceiling. It is your imagination of such, oftentimes with these people. But the problematic issue comes really when we talk about approval. And oftentimes, you see this in male and female relationships. The woman is trying to please the man, and then, if she gets too needy or too clingy, then he backs off, and then she gets angry, and then you've got this approval struggle going on. Now, the narcissist, and the psychopath, they're always looking for you to fall into their trap. There's an entrapment feeling when you're in relationships with this. So I really want you to understand the feeling, and the causes creates the effect, because once you do that, you can say, okay, I'm not putting my toes in that entrapment pond. I'm no longer swimming in that lava field of needing to get approval or give approval. The narcissist, as well as the psychopath, because of their pathological sense of self-importance, they're always looking for approval. They're always looking for validation. Because they don't have it within, because they can't take it with them to the grocery store, brushing their teeth, the shower, they're always trying to get ready for the next, basically, approval. And they're always seeking that loyalty from others, yet they don't give the loyalty back. That's the issue. So because they don't have that self-esteem, they're always trying to get it from outside of you. And really, we've been talking about this for the longest. We talk about external locus of control and internal locus of control. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist or someone who is psychopathic, someone who is in it for the win, they're in it for the the impression. They're in it for the coming out over you. It's a very competitive and not a friendly competition. That is the issue. It can oftentimes be embattled with, the withdrawing that we see, especially in the covert narcissist, when you express anything, needing emotionally, they're going to withdraw. They're going to have a tremendous sense of pushback because they don't want to really get involved. They're not in it, the way that you're in it. So when you think about the relationship, you need to kind of get a step back and look at the kind of generation and the flow of where it has evolved in. Think of it almost like coming deep from within, like if you've ever seen a volcanic erupt. It's coming from deep within the earth, and then eventually it bubbles up and it comes to the surface. So really, I want you to have that kind of insightful experience when we talk about this today, and understand perhaps you have to be rigorously honest with yourself to have the heart for yourself and look within your chest, as I've been saying. Look within your chest, literally put your head down and, and get rigorously honest with yourself. Because that's really the key that's going to release that tension and that block that, is keeping you kind of stuck in that hamster wheel. And when you kind of look at the eruption of it, don't be afraid to go way back. I mean, it might go back, several months, several years, several decades, but realize that these are the individuals, if they have been a deleterious or negative impact on your life and caused you to have to not live according to your own best interests. In other words, become the best person that you can. Be, surrounded with healthy, functional relationships. If you look back in the roots, oftentimes there is a need to control for approval, validation of this individual. They have to be right. They have to be the one. It's a very clear cut where it's a disproportion of attention on them. Disproportion meaning, causing dysfunction. Disproportion meaning out of balance, out of congruence, out of the way it should be. But if you don't have a role model for a healthy balance, then it's very difficult. If you don't seek balance in relationships, and seek role models or experience it yourself, it's very difficult to have that inside. So when you step back and we do the work and we look at the narcissist or the psychopath and their need for approval, it's often like, I tricked you, I got you. So you have to understand that you then, through the role of metacognition, which means the ability to kind of think about the situation while you're in it, or understand the dynamics. It's like training yourself, reconditioning yourself, reprogramming, kind of getting a good juiced up feeling about the understanding of the dynamics of these particular individuals. Let's call them difficult people, bullies, people who want to be the center of attention, the drama queen, the drama king, the narcissist, the psychopath, the person who is, who's a total phony, baloney, whatever you want to call. We can put all sorts of labels. Labels don't help you, though. What helps you is doing the work and understanding the cause that creates the effect. So if you put your head down and kind of really look and ask yourself these questions, when did things get out of proportion? When did I give, over too much control to this person or too much approval to this person and too much validation and live in the deficit myself? And why did I allow that deficit to continue? Where did I violate my own boundaries in order to have a relationship with this individual? How did I compromise myself and my own needs and give too much approval to this individual so that I would get something in return? Because that's the dynamics that have been created. So in other words, not being able to speak up for yourself, not being able to intervene, not being able to say, you know, don't use that tone with me, or, you know, you have to adopt a civil tone, or we can't continue the relationship. Being able to assert yourself, and realizing that you deserve the respect that you give, and you deserve that liberation, and to be free from those people who are seeking that approval entrapment. So that's really, it's kind of like a paradox. In other words, you would think approval would get you the relationship if you validate them. Yet the narcissist, they consume it. In other words, it does not stick. It does not stay. And you don't, and it's a constant need for approval, just like the Facebook. So realize that healthy relationships, you don't always have to agree in relationships that are with really, mature conversation. You don't have to fall into the trap of the narcissist or the psychopath. You can be stronger. You are more powerful than it. But yet, if this has created a block in your life, which means it's caused an experience where you're not able to be fully present because you've had to defend yourself, realize also that is going to be the key in working through these relationships, to be fully and unconditionally present, and to see where the flaws are in this person, and also to be rigorously honest and see where the flaws are in yourself, and where can I change, and to be big enough, humble enough to say, okay, I actually will improve when I recognize my flaws and when I release my flaws. So you can release this. This is something that you can change. It doesn't have to be something that you're embarrassed about, ashamed of. You're human. This is what it is. This is what life is. This is what growth is about. And so it's to realize where you had perhaps buckled to them and over, gotten into a dynamic that was dysfunctional. Okay, then so stop oiling the gears of dysfunction. Stop, fueling that fire. Stop. You can do it. It becomes like an addiction with these individuals because they can have very addictive personalities. Addictive meaning you become dependent versus fueling your own independence. And so it's very important for you to be able to have relationships that are respectful enough, that fuel your independence and hear you out, and then it has a give and take. The narcissist wants to always be right. The psychopath always wants to have the win. In other words, they really seek others' sort of downfall, and they're looking to take others down, and that gives them a sense of pleasure. It is a way that the chemical nature of their brain is that they tend to get a rise, a joy. It gives them their yahoos when they conquer another, like this in a negative way, and it can oftentimes be very hurtful. And what's very hurtful when you expose them and you realize, how you had supported them and how you had outdone yourself and sacrificed in order for this, blissful relationship that turned out to be, basically caving in when you realize that this person didn't have emotional content or substance within them. And so it's really time to fly. It's time to let go of that sort of addiction, approval addiction. In other words, if you give it to these people, you're not going to be able to receive. So it's learning to receive, but give yourself what you want to receive. So it's important for you to have that internal locus of control and not that external, always seeking outside of yourself. And especially, all the various apps and things. I mean, it's just, there is so much that either you can do to empower yourself or to become dependent. So seek that internal locus of control and that internal drive, and it will feel differently. In other words, when you stop the habit of feeling bad and stop the habit of blocking yourself. Because if you've gotten into that trap where you're always having to give approval to these individuals and placate them, play their game, just tell yourself, when you're doing your work on yourself, I'm not playing their game, and that's okay. It doesn't make me a bad person. I'm actually a very good person. You are good. But the paradox is that the approval that you continue to give them, you're giving yourself disapproval when you stay in that dynamic. Does that make sense? You're disapproving of yourself because oftentimes the narcissist and the psychopath, who are always trying to be the better end, who are using manipulation and deception, these are the individuals that while you're engaging in it, you're simultaneously disapproving of yourself because they're not giving you the love. So you need to let that go. You need to let go of that dynamic and seeking that external locus of control, the approval and then the disapproval. And don't, I would say, when you look at this and you're looking at the dynamic and how it plays out, let them be and let them become their own creation. They are what they are, and they have the right to be that way, but you don't have to tangle up and control, them by asking them to change and be a specific way. You can, if absolutely positively, if this person does not give you the respect, you have no business. What they care about you or their disapproval has no impact on you. This should be the security. In other words, you should have security working within you so that it is impervious to the opinions of others. Because if your security and your self-love and your experience of life and the source energy is based on that approval of others, that means your life is going to go up and down. It has to be on a chronic, loop within you that you can work on. And you might need to have deliberate self-talk. I approve of myself. I am enough. I am relaxed. I'm letting go of the tension. I'm letting go of the need to give approval or receive approval. I'm letting go of that. Because if oftentimes you can become like a counterforce to their force. So that's why it becomes like this internal tug of war. So drop the rope. I cease fire. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's important for you to understand the role of this. And of course, there's certain, and then how can you, communicate this in a genuine way that displays boundaries? It's good to see you. It's good to hear from you. It's good to, share a laugh. It's great to share quality time, but it should be quality for you. It's not about trying to make it for somebody else. This is the people-pleasing aspect that can be completely exited from that nature. And yet you can still be pleased, and other people can be pleased. That's their responsibility. In fact, you can get what you want when you stop enacting that perspective or that motivation. And so it really becomes the internal locus of control should feel more like your inspiration. Like Einstein said, it's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. So you want to look at that little 1%. What is that essence within me that I had given up or not acknowledged or not really given validation to? So in other words, that let it come from within. And especially in all sorts of cultures, it's about everything else. So that's why you have to really, not fall prey to that matrix, not fall prey to that trap. Begin to get a disciplined practice of it. And, what if I didn't argue? What if I didn't give such and such to this other, what would happen if I did not fuel this fire? How would I like it to feel instead? And how do I, what is really required? When we look at this dynamic of the relationship, it's very important that you don't try to, especially with the narcissist and the psychopath, you're trying to, oftentimes people as roles of supply, or trying to keep it in that status or that energy, they oftentimes, they're so deep into it that they can't pull themselves out, and they can't work on themselves, or, they're not validated by this person to do as such. So it is permission based. Give yourself the permission to cease that dynamic, to cease that habit. Think if you can look at it and understand it as a habit that can be changed, and then in your mind's eye say, okay, this is a habit that is not good for me. This is injurious. It's kind of like smoking. People who are addicted to smoking, it's downright awful for you, ammonia or whatever's in there, and it's corroding your lungs, it's numbing out your cilia, but yet people do it anyway because it helps them relax. So look at that dynamic, or that paradox, that it's going to kind of hurt you from the inside. Don't stop disapproving of yourself. Be rigorously honest. Give yourself approval and validation that comes from within, and is not requiring any sort of mask or persona. Be congruent with your heart, and begin to reference more, and put your head down a little bit. Soften your gaze when you're with these people. Allow your countenance, or your face, and your whole musculature to just relax, and stop sort of, going in with that sort of, fishing for compliments, or, trying to give them, and feed into their persona. Because when you can stop doing that and just be, and then speak on things that are meaningful and important, that'll be more in line with your true self and your true needs. And then you'll get into the habit of being able to express yourself in a way that is assertive. It is a growth process. It is a growth process. So you might be starting with nothing. You might be starting with something. You might be a little bit, in the journey. However, it's important that you are able to be you in the presence of these people, or let them go, and just, don't allow that to come into your energetic field. Your energetic field extends, 8 to 9 feet around you. You own this space in the universe. When you really look at it, it's quite powerful. It's like you are your own internal real estate. You need to build up and protect and refine that perspective. Just like that comes from a penthouse view, you can see so much more. So the higher aspect of you can also see so much more. Don't get caught up in the entrapment of that approval dynamic. Don't try to control, what you want for them. Let them want what they want for themselves, and go through that no matter what, no matter what the past. And especially if it's very severe, like in the psychopathic, you might even have these ruminations even when they're gone. Oftentimes, you see, men who are still trying to, get themselves ready for this woman, even though the woman, you might not have seen them for several weeks. So it's like you're working on yourself for them. Work on yourself for you. It might feel wrong, maybe, and you need to, get a role model, a healthy role model for yourself, and really ask yourself in your heart, what is a true role model for me? What is a true role model for me? What does that person's life look like? What are they doing? What are they feeling? How are they managing themselves? What do they focus on? What do they have in their life? What do they represent? How do they communicate? What is their focus? What is their emphasis? And really begin to feel that in your heart. Look inside your heart. You can think up here, but it's also very helpful to look within your heart and allow your heart to speak to you. And because if you have not, given yourself sort of that experience, that intimate experience with yourself, that could be very much what you're missing And, you need to give yourself, even in the privacy of this video, the opportunity to do that, and then allow yourself to grow from within. And so you're really, really strengthening that internal locus of control and letting go of that external locus of control and conforming to that narcissist or psychopathic standard, or how you had betrayed yourself in that. Let go of that habit. It is oftentimes very scary and very difficult. It takes practice. It's going to take time, but it gets so much better when you stay the course, stay with it, continue to really focus it and reinforce it, and your feelings will begin to change. You won't feel the tension. You won't feel the anxiety. You'll feel a pleasant, blissful state of content, yet you can still have the good life. You can still nourish and give to yourself and give to others without it feeling out of balance and dysfunction. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out.